Anyway, what a really professional way of welcoming you all to the Sports Car Safari podcast. We're getting there. We've spoken for weeks about writing for months about writing a theme tune, and we haven't written a theme tune. So yeah, how are you, Luke?
I'm good. I'm good. I feel like this episode again is it seems the tables have turned. I am morning, Sunday, coffee. You are beer. Cheers. Saturday night.
As we were just saying, I went through a whole year last year of being the morning guy, and Luke and all of our guests being the evening people with their beers and drinks. And yeah. Anyway, it's much better with beer. Anyway, welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
What you're saying? I'm not
to chat.
I'm not palatable without beer. Is that what you're trying to say?
Not quite. So yeah, well, a bit of a different one this time. We thought there's been a bit happening in the various sports car safari garages, so we'd go through a bit of a rundown of what's been happening. It's been a busy start to the year, really. So yeah, that's about it. And obviously, yeah, it's been a hectic time. So we'll get to that. But if anyone's got any questions, do pop them in the chat if they've got any suggestions. Just want to, I don't know, have a bit of a general rant. I mean, yeah, sure, jump in. We'll
play along.
Yeah, we'll provide a soapbox for you to stand on to spread your message. No, not quite, but yeah, no, do. So yeah, what's been happening in Australia? How's Australia?
Fantastic. Can't complain. Can't lie. Can't hide it. It's been great. The kids were being looked after last night, which is great. So Ruth and I managed to get out to Gluttony at the Adelaide Fringe, which is on and buzzing. Started Friday night, which is pretty cool.
You bastard.
So that was terrible. It really was horrible. Not. Yeah, so we managed to get away for a couple of hours and pop into the CBD and the east end of Adelaide and go and have some lovely Vietnamese and a beer in the park, along with lots and lots of other people, which was really nice.
Lots and lots of other people just sliding that one in there, just rubbing it in. Hey,
yeah. It was actually like there was a lot of people there, but it was really good. Like people in lines and stuff, everyone was being quite respectful of everyone's space and things like that. So that was quite good. That was really nice. But yeah, it was really weird. Yeah. Like to get back into a festival type of mode again, I guess is a bit of a difficult one.
I must admit, I was just going to say there's this meme been circulating around because in the UK they've just brought in hotel quarantine like a year late, but hey, better late than never, whatever. And they've just brought it in. But the beautiful thing is it's not like a full quarantine like Australia. It's they've got a certain red list of countries, and depending on where you're flying from. And one of the countries is Portugal, but Spain's not on the red list. So everyone's like, wouldn't you just like catch a train to Spain and just fly from Spain? But anyway, whatevs. But anyway, so there's been this
seems like trying to like do fishing with a net, and the net's like just massacred. It's like 100-year-old net with holes everywhere. Yeah. We might get some.
And it just reminded me of this when you were speaking about gluttony, because there was this kind of in the news has been all of these politicians saying hotel quarantine doesn't work and blah blah blah, and then someone had a meme about like number of cases in the UK, number of cases in Australia, and they're like, and then a picture of like this is New Zealand or this is Australia at the moment. It's like a music festival with like 5,000 people, and they're like, I don't know, maybe quarantine does work.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was really cool. I mean, it was good to see that like a lot of those small businesses and enterprises and stuff that rely on those events for income were busy and bustling, which was cool. I was half walking, half expecting to walk in there and see you in there. Kind of got that feeling. Where's Andrew?
Oh, that's right. He can't leave the house.
He can't leave the house. So that's really cool. That was good. Drove the 105 to cricket with Samuel yesterday, which was fun. First game of the season for him. So we're getting out and about, which was good. After replacing a lovely expanding battery, which I haven't had on
An
a car
expanded
yet.
battery.
Yeah.
I've never even heard about. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Happens a lot
What happened?
with MacBooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a good old before they went to the unibody ones, they were the ones that like had the split case design on them. Or even the unibody sometimes, but those ones, the batteries that would like clip in the bottom, they'd expand and like the whole body would warp and move, and that was pretty bad. Anyway, I went for a drive in the 105 a couple of weeks ago, and can't remember. Anyway, no, it was last Sunday. I went to go take morning pictures, and the light was terrible and it was horrible, and I got all grumpy and just went for a drive up through Corkscrew and Gorge and just through that part of the hills. And I got home and I was doing the usual thing you do with old cars, which is check for leaks and check for fuel and check for stuff everywhere. So under the bonnet checking, I could hear this hissing noise. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, is it coolant leak? Is there something going on? What is it? Looking around. And it was a battery. So the battery, you know how the batteries have the little indicators on them? The top of it was bright red, and the battery was hissing and bulged.
Wow. That's pretty... Would it have exploded or something if you didn't?
I guess they can. They're not as bad as lithium-ion batteries, but yeah, they can. Yeah. I was more worried about like acid getting out and dripping onto lovely old Italian steel and moving paint and doing the lovely thing that it does. So luckily it hadn't done that. And there was a battery drip tray anyway. But yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. I haven't seen that yet in a car, which was fun.
Yeah. Is it just was it an old battery? Just an old battery or defective?
Andy didn't seem to think so. But slowly taking our rights away from us, those battery companies. The battery, Andy doesn't reckon the battery was that old, like it wasn't replaced too long ago. So pull it out, 24-month warranty on the sticker, like it's a Century, so it's bright yellow and blah blah blah. It's got 24-month warranty. The brand new one I bought, 20-month warranty. Everything else exactly the same. Just a little 20 instead.
Because they know that they fail at 23 months. So
yeah, something like they've had too many failures at 23 months. Or roll it back to 20 to be safe. Yeah, I don't know why, but. So your quality of your product is getting worse, not better.
Anyway.
So, and then after putting that in, after replacing the battery, just did usual charging and electrical checks to make sure it wasn't being overcharged and there wasn't like a voltage regulator issue or something funky like that. So, it was all a bit exciting. Kind of dreading the 166 right now too.
What's up with the 166?
Just lovely early thousands, late 90s Italian cars and electrics in general.
I was going to say, because you get so tempted, because someone like myself that doesn't have like such an in-depth knowledge of, you see these cars and they look gorgeous and you look at the interior and that Momo leather and you go, yeah, this is a good idea. Now, reality check. Ownership experience.
Aircon fan blower. So aircon interior fan motor. Ruth was saying, I wasn't getting much air coming out and going there. Fan not responsive at all. And go first thing you do, check fuse all melted. So it's like fuse wasn't blown, but it was melted. Like
melted. That's just as bad.
It's a 30 amp
probably
fuse.
Worse.
It's a 30 amp fuse, so it's drawing quite a fair amount of current through the system. So I dare say that it's done a bearing or the motor's got something else wrong with it and it's just drawing way too much power trying to move. Or it's got a short or something like that. So but the way to get that fan out is just murder. So it's like pulling apart half the aircon system through the back, through the firewall.
Surgery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not that bad, but there's a lot of annoying stuff to pull off that I literally did like stuff in that area not too long ago. So it's just having to pull that apart.
And you're just like, oh man,
I wish
how
it
bad
died.
the job is.
I wish it died before I did the gearbox. Because I pulled apart like the inlet plenum and all that stuff. When I did that with the gearbox, it would have been easy to get the firewall out to get to all that stuff because it's got a removable firewall in that spot. And Yep.
That's the worst situation, because if you don't know what you're in for, it's a bit of an adventure, and then you discover it's a crap job, and you're like, "Oh wow, that was a crap job."
Well,
but when you
I'm
know what you're
3/4
in
of the way
for,
into
like,
it now. It's like I'm 3/4 of the way into it. Yeah, I just keep going. But this one, I'm like, I know what I'm in for, and I don't want to do it.
but you're like,
But
nah.
the good thing is, when I wrecked the 166 the
Like,
other
you don't
day,
need AC.
in 40 degrees in Adelaide, no, maybe not in like minus 30 or whatever you guys are over there at the moment. Snow and everything.
No, it's warm now. We've had a plus 15 swing.
Ooh. So what are you, like 4 degrees?
Today.
14.
It was 14 today. 14. Literally, we were driving with the windows down, the breeze flowing through. We actually were like, no, I shit, you know, we actually were. Breeze flowing through, had the music on. We're like,
were you in t-shirt? Were you in a t-shirt as well? Please tell me you were in a t-shirt.
No.
That would have been
had jumper and jacket on. In fact, I was in London today, walking down the street going like, how summery is this? And then I'm like, actually, I'm wearing jeans, a t-shirt, a jumper, and a jacket. But it still felt pretty summery. So anyway, sorry to interrupt. Back to the AC fan. Tell me about your needs to stay cool.
Yeah, so I think with this one, I know that it's going to be a pain in the butt to do, so I don't even want to start it. That's right, I'll do it when I get there.
Just sell it.
Just sell it.
And then if someone says, how come the AC doesn't work? And you're like, no, it's probably just a fuse or
something.
Do
you know what it's like? Do you know what honestly is like? It's like, you know those Top Gear specials where they're doing like the African special, and then like, if your car dies, you've got this.
Yeah.
There's always the VT Como wagon sitting in the background just lurking, like, my aircon's working fine. No problem.
I fixed the blower.
That thing won't die. That thing's like, it will never die. Never.
You know, your VT, our equivalent is our little Mazda 3 that we've got, and it's like I've come so close to selling it so many times, and I really want to get rid of it, and I'm very close to swapping it for a Panda 4x4 now. But every time you drive it, it's just we give it no love and no care, and it's kind of fun, and it just does the job, and you go, why? I'm going to get like £600 for it. Like, what's the point of even selling it? But then also it's anyway.
But yeah, anyway, the saving grace of that is that I have the 105 there to be able to jump in and take away all my ailments of the day, and have the alpha,
and that's
the beautiful alpha tonic that it is. And Andy was right.
What those cars are good for.
Andy said to me as the day I got it, I think he's like, "Have you gone over 5.5 yet?" I'm like, "No, come on, man." Thank goodness I did it, because it didn't have heaps of oil in it when I got it. So, but yeah, like Andy's definitely right. Like 5.5 third gear in that car is just phenomenal. The sound is amazing. Balance is beautiful.
Mate, I can't wait when I can finally come back to Australia. It's literally going to be a case of land. Hi, Mum. Hi, Dad. I'm going to get the X19 out of the garage, and then I'm going to drive it straight to yours and be like, hi, Luke. Give me the keys. I want to drive this thing.
Yeah, definitely. So that's really update central from me. Nothing. Yeah, a little bit exciting, but not as exciting as you.
Yeah,
you've had some adventures.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of months. Got a new car, new Boxster, another Boxster, which we can get to. Looks the same as the old one, but it's not. So yeah,
this is great. This is like when I rode off my 33 16 valve, and then that was a red one, and then got another red 33 16 valve, and everyone's like, oh wow, like this car came up really good. I'm like,
I was the same. I got the new car and I brought it home. Had it a week now, and I brought it home last weekend, and I was really excited, and brought Chantel out. I was like, hey, come check out the car. And she didn't even go outside. She just looked out the window, and she's like, oh, it looks like the old one. Cool. And then just turns around and goes, and I'm like,
So did you want to go through a little bit? I mean, I know you a little bit on Instagram and stuff, but it's different when you talk about it.
Yeah. So basically, I guess, if anyone's, I don't expect people to keep tabs on everything that's happening in our personal lives. So,
Mr. Andrew Coles, this is your life.
Life. So we picked up this Boxster last year, was it July last year? And, it was a really cool story. We sort of found it from the first owner and kind of crossed paths with him, ended up buying this car. It hadn't run for 3 years and brought it back home, got it running, wrote about it in issue 4 of Sports Car Safari. So it's the car, that's the one from there. And yeah, just had a really great experience in this thing. And I really had no expectations for the car. I was half expecting it to, end in a pile of smoke on the side of the road. And it just didn't. It was a really cool thing.
One IMS bearing away from death.
Yeah. And it was great. We put 10,000 miles on it in 6 months. Like it was really cool. And we took it everywhere. It was a great thing. And so just before Christmas, there's a bunch of maintenance jobs that I'd kind of been putting off because I don't have, the work, most of the work I do here, I do out on the driveway, on the gravel driveway. Yeah,
it's actually that time we changed the 147 sump in the driveway.
Yes,
but I'm just remembering that and going, oh, like how much pain that was, like lying on top of rocks and everything under a car.
The key difference, we have small gravel. So it's not too bad. It's like, the harsh, hard gravel would be, that'd be painful. So, so the thing with the Boxster is that to get to the top of the engine, you basically put the roof into what's called service mode, where you half close it so it's halfway up, and then you unhook a bunch of the links, and then you fold it in, and then you can access the engine cover, and then take the engine cover off, and you can get in. And then the access is not too bad.
Sorry, I'm laughing. I'm just picturing that. Yeah. That picture you posted of the guy holding up the hardtop as like service mode.
Service mode. You have to employ a man to like stand and hold the roof.
You have to employ like Hans, the Porsche roof service German, to come over and hold.
Just to stand there and just hold it for you. Yeah, it'd be preferable. But the problem is, the big flaw for working on them at home is that once you've got this roof in service mode, and then once you disconnect the battery and you pull parts of the engine and everything apart, you can't close the roof because the battery's disconnected. So if it starts to rain, because you're outside, which it does frequently in the UK, you're kind of stuffed. So I'd arranged to borrow some workshop space off a friend who has his car collection there, and he very, very kindly, allowed me some space. And I was going to do all the fluids, like brake fluid, clutch fluid, power steering fluid. I had a new water pump to put on. I had a new auxiliary belt. I had spark plugs, suspension top mounts. Like I had a whole box full of parts. So I'd been saving all these jobs up, and I was like, and I had some time off work over Christmas. So I was like, sweet, I'm just going to spend like 10 days just working on the car and just, get all these jobs done. And so we had the car up on jack stands in the workshop. We'd been working on it for a couple of days, had all the top mounts and all the suspension done. And, I just dumped the water. I wanted to take the radiators out and flush them all out. So I had the front bumper off the car, had all the headlights out, had all the 2 radiators out of the front of the car. My point where I'm going with this is she's dismantled. Like she's not going anywhere. And suddenly then it starts to rain, and I'm going, okay. And then it kind of keeps raining, and then it just rains for a couple of days solid. And then, there's, weather warnings start to come through, and you're like, okay. And, so we're in this workshop space.
Do you not see the irony in it though? That like you went to a workshop to avoid getting rained.
I know, getting wet,
and then it's
flooded. Yeah. And the night that it happened, it was terrible. Like we could see the water coming up, and by the time that I went home that night, it was kind of ankle deep, and it was a bit like, okay, let's see what happens. And the water came in. Anyway, fast forward, it's a bit of a boring story, but basically the car, obviously went through the insurance. They declared it a total loss without even seeing the car, because as soon as they heard 20-year-old Porsche and flood, they were like, nope. And like, $6-7 grand in value. They're like, nah, not worth just total loss. Like that's just their policy. So they wrote the car off. But anyway, they told me this whole time that I could buy the car back. That it would go as what they call over here like a category N write-off, which is like a repairable write-off, economic write-off, and then I could buy the car back, and then happy days. So I had embarked on fixing it, pulling it apart,
drying all the interior out.
Drying all the interior out. We had
it was
our
like
house
2
here,
weeks. Was it 2 weeks after that you were like showing me that you were like pushing the seat and it was still getting water out of the?
Yeah.
Was it 2 weeks? It was some crazy amount of.
It was. Yeah. There's a lot of. It was wet. I mean, I went over on Christmas Day and spent Christmas Day pulling stuff out of it. But anyway, long story short, I was of the opinion that I was going to buy this thing back, and then I was going to get it back on the road, and this is going to be like another, part of the story. How funny is this? So I actually got. I haven't said this really, but I actually got the engine running. So I actually managed to. We changed the oil. Luckily, the water hadn't got inside the engine, which some of the other cars it had. Like one of the other cars was an Aston Martin, and they dumped 9 liters of water out of the sump of that thing. It had just flowed up the exhaust pipe and in. But the Porsche being a Boxster engine, all of the oil intakes are all on the top of the engine, so it had just not got high enough to kind of anyway. So plugged it all back in, got the engine started. The video is pretty funny because but basically I took all the plugs out to turn it over with no compression to check that it wasn't hydro locked and that there wasn't water in it. And I changed the oil and I put new oil in it to, just check. And then, hit the key and it coughed and it sounded really bad. And then it caught and then it fired. And then I looked out the back and it just pumped about 2 or 3 liters of water out the exhaust pipe, sprayed it against the wall. It was full of steam and
dude, you're missing the opportunity. That's like the cold start video viral life, right?
I've got the footage. Yeah.
Oh, did you actually film the exhaust pipe doing that?
Yeah. I set a little GoPro up behind.
Oh, really? Dude.
Yeah.
You got to do that.
Yeah. Pretty funny. So the thing ran. Which was great, and I was like, okay, and it did clear its throat, and I mean, I had no coolant because all the cooling system was apart, so I only ran it for 5 seconds just with no coolant in it, just to see if it would start. But I'd ran it a couple of times, and the engine was okay. So I was like, sweet, cool. We're in business. So I was like, happy days. Then I was talking to the insurance company, and basically they took like 2 months to process his claim. It was just, I mean. Anyone who's ever had to deal with an insurance company for a claim, like you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. It's just the most involved process. Like I'm sure everyone's probably been there, but it's no fun. And anyway, so I have, actually I've found out that the guys on the ground, the insurance assessors on the ground are actually really good guys. Most of the time, they're actually pretty good guys, like the guys with the nuts and bolts. It's just the people, the bureaucrats in the office that are, just running the show. I mean, it's probably not their fault. They're just doing their job with the system. But
but I guess it's very much like the people who are exposed to the people at the end have the most empathy for those people, other than the people who are just sitting behind a computer screen or a phone. Like, 100%.
And they're just like, no.
No. Black, white, rule.
So, no, yes, no.
Yeah.
So I got onto the assessor because they gave me value for the car, which wasn't quite right. So I sort of challenged it. And then eventually the assessor rang me, and he was a really cool guy. And we spoke for like 45 minutes. He was into push bikes. He was into motorbikes. He heard my Australian accent. Of course, he then told me about his cousin, sister, brother, uncle, XYZ that lives in Australia. And we had a good chat about that. All this sort of stuff. And he's a really nice guy. But then he noticed, he's like, I'm really sorry to tell you this, because I told him my plans. I was like, hey, we want to bring this car back to Australia one day and I'm going to fix it and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and he's like, I'm really sorry to say this, mate. He's like, but the insurance, the guy that like did the report on your car, he's like, he's actually made 2 mistakes. And he's like, the first mistake he made, you're right, was the value. The value he gave you was not market value. So, happy to change that. And he's like, but the other mistake he's made is that he's, marked this as a Cat, I think it was a Cat N, which means it's a repairable write-off and it could be put back on the road. And then he's like, I'm really sorry to say it has to go as a Cat B, which means the car has to be crushed. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, because he said, and I was like,
what was your initial,
serious?
what was going through your head when he dropped that on you?
I was a bit shocked, because I was a bit sad, because I was like, I kind of really like this car, and I want to keep it, and I want to fix it, and I want to, and it was just a bit of a shock to the plan, because the plan for the last,
sorry, you glitched for a minute.
You glitched. I think we're back. But the plan had been to put it back on the road, and it just means that the plan had changed a bit. And he was sort of explained, and he was really nice, but I kind of see his point, but also it's freaking stupid. But this is just stupid insurance policy stuff. It's not his fault. But he said legally there's some obscure government rule that if the floodwater has not come from a fresh source, so if it's not seawater or if it's not like from a hydrant or something like that, if it's floodwater from the drains and from farming runoff, he's like, we don't know that flood water wasn't contaminated. And the carpets and the parts of your car is like someone could catch. They were really worried that like waterborne diseases, and someone, you know, in 5 years' time could catch something from riding in the car. And, you know, then the insurance company would be on the hook for them getting cholera or something. And I was like, and he flat out said, he's like, I'm really sorry. He's like, this is shit. Like, he's like, this is really stupid. He's like, I know that the chances of this happening are like next to nothing, but he's like, I have to do this. Is, you know, he sort of said that he's like, I like you, we've had a good chat, but also like, I'm not going to lose my job over you. So he's like, I have to mark it.
I'm not going to lose my livelihood over your old crappy Boxster.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually said to him, I was like, that's fair enough. Like, I probably wouldn't do the same for you either. So, you know, I get it. Like, it's fine. So yeah, it was just a bit shit. But so the frustrating thing is, so it was sold, and this is why the world we live in and the insurance industry and just everything is just makes zero sense, because he explained to me that they were concerned that, you know, the parts, you couldn't even sell the parts, like legally, you couldn't even sell the parts. He's like, you can't even buy it. Because I asked him, I said, can I buy it back? You know, and just break it for parts and strip it, and, but, you know, sell the parts. And he explained to me, no, because they don't want the parts to end up places, because, you know, it's the parts that have, you know, been submerged and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Anyway, so the car has been written off as a Cat B. It's now gone to Copart, where it's being sold at auction. So people can buy it. It can never go back on the road again. So the shell has to be crushed, but the parts are being sold.
What? I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah. So I'm scratching my head going like, hang on a minute, you wouldn't let me break it for parts because you didn't want the parts to be sold. Yet you sold it to someone who's breaking it for parts. And I'm like, and then you're going to go and crush the body so the car can never go back on the road again. But the body is metal. Like the chassis is not going to become affected. Jesus. Like, that's the only part of this that's fine. And they're going to go and crush a perfectly good car that literally has absolutely nothing wrong with it. And then they're going to put all those parts that are allegedly water damaged out into the market to be sold. And I'm just like, this makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway.
Yeah,
don't know,
how wasteful is that?
Yeah. I'm just like, this, and I know this car could be fixed because the engine bloody runs. Like, I know it could be fixed fine. So anyway, so it's gone off to Copart, and our poor Boxster's now, God knows where it is. It's they picked it up the other week.
Everywhere.
And, everywhere now.
It's everywhere.
Literally. Yeah.
But there is some silver lining in all of this.
So I found another car. So I went
another silver Boxster.
Well, first it was a red one. We found a guard's red car,
which I'm kind of glad you didn't get a red one.
It could have gone either way.
Yeah,
like, it could have been very cool. It could have been cool, but I
feel like the line between cool red Porsche convertible and not cool red Porsche convertible is very, very, very thin.
And then Boxster. To be fair, Boxster is probably not cool Porsche convertible flat stop. So it doesn't matter what color it is.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
don't worry.
So
I
first one was a red one.
Like, middle-aged guy, slightly balding, a little bit overweight, red Porsche convertible. Like, it's not a good look. Like, it's Anyway, so I went to look at it, and it drove really well. Like, mechanically, this car was great, but the paint was wrecked on it, and
just red life.
Kind of ummed and up. Yeah, just ummed and ahed, and it was a bit like. But I'd managed to buy some parts off some other Boxster parts. So I was doing a bit of a, just wanted to pick up some wheels. So I'd found this guy who builds race cars, and out of Boxsters, and so I managed to buy these parts. So after we looked at the red car, a bit dejected. I literally nearly bought a Panda 4x4. Like our friend Andy, I was with our friend Andy that owns your 105 that's with you.
Not my 105. And I'm looking after his 105.
His 105. And we were chatting, and I was just so devastated. And we're driving down, and I was like, screw it. I was like, I'm just gonna buy a Panda 4x4. They're cheap. Like, just I need to buy something today. Like let's go and buy a Panda. Like, it's just let's do something. And anyway,
were you like, I've got to buy something. I just gotta do it.
I was like, I woke up this morning planning to buy a car. Like, we're damn well gonna buy a car. That's the wrong attitude to have when you're trying to look
very wrong attitude.
Anyway, so I was like on Facebook, just as you console yourself. I was just on Facebook, just searching marketplace, being like, oh yeah, maybe I'll ring this one up. Anyway, drive down to this guy. He was like,
and that's how you end up with a multipler. Just need a car today.
No, that's lockdown boredom. That's like, I've literally got nothing else to do but look at multiplers.
They're still the best.
So go to this guy.
I hope that car comes back to Australia. I really do.
Which one? The multipler?
Yeah.
That's sold.
He sold it already. Oh man.
And yeah, Andy sold it. He had that for like 2.5 weeks. He drove it like 3 times and was like, this thing's actually pretty shit. And then he put it on marketplace and some guy like offered him the cash and
that's pretty good.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, they probably are terrible.
Yeah, it was very boring. Like,
good comedic value, but that's about it.
Yeah, the main amusement in that car is seeing it. Like, you don't want to drive it. Like, once you've walked up to it and had a walk around it and laughed at it, like, you've got the best value out of that car. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. Like,
anyway, so
down
by
to this
Porsche parts and
these parts.
Yeah,
this guy's breaking Boxsters. He buys them, and he ran this race car. He ran some Radicals, ran some Caterhams as like track day cars, and he ran a few Boxster S's as track day cars and stuff. And then I was telling him the story about how they're going to crush my car because, this is stupid. And then he's like, how about this one? And I was like, he's like, I've got a story I think can top that. And I was like, okay. And he's like, look at this car here. And he said, all I fixed on it, he's like, I bought it at Copart. It was a salvaged, Cat N write-off. He's like, literally all I changed was the rear bumper. And yeah, it's great. And he's like, I bought it as a race car and it's far too nice. He's like, it's 2 owners from new. It's done 43,000 miles. It's got a full history. It's a Boxster S. And he's like, this thing's too nice to cut up into a race car. He's like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, he's like, maybe I'm just going to keep it for myself or maybe I might sell it. And I was like, go on, tell me more. Go on. And so we took it for a quick drive and this thing just drove like no Boxster I've driven it. It
drives like a brand new car. 43,000 mile.
3,000 mile. Yeah. And I thought about it for a bit and eventually made him an offer and he accepted. And yeah, so he went and picked it up last weekend and it's great. So
cool.
It looks the same, but it's an S. So mine was it actually makes a big difference.
It's the same. So what are the differences for us un-Porscheified folk?
Okay. So the regular Boxster is a 2.7. Well, they were 2.5s originally. Then most of them are 2.7s. So this is a 3.2. So the S is a 3.2. So I can't remember the exact figures, but I think this has like 252 versus about 217.
Right.
So it's got an extra 30, 40 horsepower. Like it's and torque and a lot more torque. Like it has a bunch more torque.
Yeah.
The other big difference is it has a 6-speed gearbox instead of 5. So
was the other one only a 5?
Yeah. So the early Boxsters, I believe, and this is getting pretty inside baseball, so I do apologize, but they, I think they were an Audi gearbox. I think they were an adapted Audi gearbox of some sort.
Man, the 6 speeds or the 5 speeds?
The 5 speeds.
Right.
Whereas the 6-speed is a proper Porsche gearbox. It's a Porsche designed gearbox. And that does make sense in the feel. The feel of this one is worlds better than the 5-speed. It slots into gears so much nicer than the 5-speed did. So you get the gearbox. It has bigger Brembos, so it's got bigger brakes. It has drilled and vented discs and slightly bigger brakes. Suspension tweaks as well. It's a bit stiffer, bigger anti-roll bars, slightly stiffer bushing, more cooling. It's got a third radiator up the front, so it has 3 radiators instead of 2.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a, I hate to admit it, it's much nicer. It's a lot nicer.
Is it?
It's yeah.
Is the engine as perky, being a larger displacement, or is it a little bit lazier? I'd be like splitting hairs, but
yeah, no, it's the 2.7 you really had to rev. This I thought lost some of that character.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really driven it that far. I've only done 120 miles, 130 miles or something, so I haven't really driven it that much. But yeah, it definitely has a lot more torque down low, which you feel pulling onto motorways and around town. It feels just a lot easier and quicker. But yeah, when you do rev it out, I mean, we extended it out. I mean, had up to about 85 or 90 or something today, and it yeah, it does have a top end that it sort of revs out to as well. So it's much faster. So yeah, cool. That's a good thing. It's good.
So all in all, came out not too shabby.
Yeah, it's worked out.
Out of the months and months of pain, you've ended up with a Boxster S.
I've just lost 2.5 months of my life, though. That's okay.
Got an extra few grey hairs over it all, and here we are.
Mostly sitting on hold to the insurance company, but anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that is about the worst thing ever, I reckon, is on hold to insurance and/or utility companies.
Yeah.
Dislike that very much.
And the way that, I mean, this is a whole nother subject, but the way these bureaucracies are set up, they are engineered this way, and they are engineered so that you can't get annoyed with the person you're dealing with, because they're just a person, not the system.
Yeah.
And it's the system that's designed to make it difficult for you. It's like, I had to ring them to get news. And it's
hard work. Yeah. That it's almost like they hope that you give up by lack of trying. So they just
exactly
give up. We win. That's it.
We win. Just go away. And I don't know. Anyway, everyone has a ranty story about dealing with a bureaucracy, and no one. What do they like? Opinions. Everyone has one. No one wants to hear them.
Oh yeah. Dude, don't even get me started on an insurance company. Coming up, what, like 4.5 years now? Ugh. Claim life.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And yours is next level, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole nother time. Not for a Sunday morning. I think I need a beer for that one. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it.
That's it. Cool.
So yeah, big plans. I mean, to be honest, the same plans. Like, I think the goal as it sits is get it to Europe. So I think if we can get to Europe late summer, who knows if we can or not, but that's, still what we're going to aim for. The good thing, I'm going to try and get onto the track a bit. I was having a chat to this guy, interestingly enough, Steve, that I bought it from, and he runs a bunch of Boxster S as a sort of, tractor hire cars, pretty standard cars. And he says that actually they're really good on the track, and he said they're actually really stout. Sort of the same thing being a Boxster engine. His 2 bits of advice were like, just make sure that the oil level's good, make sure that it's at least full or slightly over full, so you prevent the oil starvation from happening in big long turns, which can spin bearings. The other thing he said, which I thought was really good advice, is he said don't stay out on the track for longer than about 15 or 20 minutes. Because he said that, if you get a lot of heat into them and then the oil starts to really thin down and it gets hot, he said the heat is often what will spin a bearing when the oil kind of gets thin and everything kind of gets really hot. So he said, as long as you kind of go out for 15, 20 minutes and then come back in, give the car time to cool down, like manage your temperatures, cool it down, do it that way. He seemed to think that. Don't know. I get it though.
That sounds very un-Porsche-like. Like, I feel like Porsche would not build something that you could only drive hard for 15 minutes and then it'll be like, oh no, that's it, finish. Like, I feel like that's some guy who's got a 200,000 mile Boxster or something that hasn't changed the oil in 50,000 miles and is expecting it to work okay on a track day. Like, I've used the wrong weight mineral oil from that I use in my Triumph TR3 every day.
True.
This is fine for the track. Like,
it's still a 20-year-old car though. Like, you don't want to be too.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway,
I kind of feel like as long as stuff has been maintain using good fluids. Like even if you have, stock everything and you just put some really good fluids in it, then the technology we have today compared to 20 years ago is much better in terms of protecting and oil and stuff. I mean, 20 years ago, what did we have? Like Castrol Magnatec. Like, come on.
Yeah, true. But still, like, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes out in the time is plenty. Like that's a lot. So so hopefully if I can get out to 2 or 3 track days this year, I think that'd be a win. And then I guess to see what we can do, virus permitting, I guess, really. So,
yeah. Do you know what I've really missed? I've really, really missed, and I kind of want to do that. Gav did, if you saw on Instagram the other day, yesterday, he did a cannonball to New South Wales to pick something up and then came back. I was like messaging him going, Gav, I'm so jealous of you right now. If there's one thing I've missed during last year and the start of this year has been a good old fashioned interstate cannonball. Like, finish work on a Friday, boom, off you go, 12 hours straight. Get there, do what you need, turn around, come back. So, feel like I need to do one of those. I'm itching to do one of those, I think.
Just find something, just buy something. Tell you need to get a new blower fan for the 166, and the only one you can find is in Western Sydney. Gotta go pick it up.
I can't find Ruth. I can't find the one that I just wrecked and put up in my mezzanine storage. I can't find it. It's gone. I got to get the one from New South Wales.
Well, actually, Mike has commented. I'm not sure I agree with his concept. We won't. So Mike runs endurance races in an Evo 10. We won't run the production Evo. And it runs a standard cooler and cooling system with no such issues, as well as a lot of the grid. I think it's quality of maintenance and oils and regularly changing. Yeah. Vote one for Luke.
Vote one, Luke. Dispelling the myth of old track folk.
But also, to be fair, I'm happy to play
Are your engine mounts moving? You need to weld some chain link steel in there. That'll work. That'll stop them moving. No, just replace them with proper ones.
That's the best. But to be fair, I'm going to take all and every precautions because if I lunch a 3.2 Porsche motor, they're not exactly cheap to rebuild. So I'm going to take some proper precautions.
If it's not on, it's not on.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I think as well, a lot comes down to your driving style as well. And I think that if you're going to take a car on the track, and my aim in doing this is not to set lap times, and I'm not out to break any records or to qualify or to set a time. I'm just out to experience the track. Like, I want to go to Brands Hatch and spend a day lapping it and go home and be like, I've driven Brands Hatch, like, done. That's all I want to do. And I think by driving the car at 90%, as opposed to like 10/10s, 100%, you can probably save a whole, like that last 10% probably puts 50% extra strain on the car, so.
Well, especially when it comes to like clutches and like hitting red line 24/7, like that kind of, you can still be quite rapid just by having a good smooth flow. Like you'll be fine.
Yeah. And I don't really care about times. So I also, I don't want to.
Until we put your dad in the car at the same time.
Yeah, that'd be like. Actually, having said that, famous last words, because this happened when I took my old Boxster out to Snetterton. You're like, I'm just gonna go and drive around, and I don't need to do this. And then 2 laps in, you're like, yeah, no, I think I can hold that. So I'm sure to go out the window.
I can hold that flat through there, no problem.
Yeah. So anyway, but
cool, yeah. All right.
Well,
that's a wrap.
Good to catch up. Thank you.
It's very good. I'm very excited to hear of continuing Boxster S stories.
Thank you. And I've started I should tell people, I've started an Instagram page at Flat6Kicks. And the only reason for doing this is it's kind of fun just to share random shit that I drag up and, stuff. And I really don't want to spam like the SCS in my own Instagram feeds because I'm aware of the fact that like most people don't really care. So if you do care.
So does this mean you're a Porsche influencer now?
No. God, no.
No. Are you sure?
Actually, it might have the page might have been started for tax reasons, but
yeah.
But no, it's still kind of fun. It's kind of fun just to talk shit about some really nerdy subject and not alienate the 95% of people who couldn't care less. So
yeah. Well, I just keep getting stuff. I keep getting stuff from my sister that's like Where's pictures of boys? Why am I seeing pictures of cars? Nah.
Whatever.
No. I did my Instagram thing that I did was I was making fun of my cousin. So I started a new page just to make fun of my new cousin. He made for our for my uncle's 60th. He made a salami flower. So
wow, that looks like something very else. But anyway,
so I started a page called Salami Flowers by Matthew. And he's been messaging me to take it down because he's sick of explaining himself to his friends about what it's actually about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Win.
Point made. Anyway, thanks, mate. We'll see you.
Mate. Good to chat.
We'll do another one soon.
Yeah, soon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And well, yeah. Obviously, sorry, we need to plug ourselves. We always forget to plug. The whole point of this podcast is so we can plug our stuff, and then we chat, and then we don't actually get around to plugging our stuff. So anyway, sportscarsafari.com/shop. Order your magazines, get some stickers. That's a bit we have to say. We don't have to say it because we run this show. But anyway.
Sounds good. And
thanks, everybody.
Flat six kicks. Say that 3 times fast.
Nah, it's too late.
Actually, I'm surprised that handle was available. Actually,
yeah, no, that's why I grabbed it. I was like, sweet. Anyway, I'll sell it to like someone one day.
Another Porsche influencer.
See you, man. See everybody.